Hello friends, publication of your scientific research in high impact factor journals is now the need of the hour. A university, a scientist is ranked based on the publications they have. Not only publications, but high impact factor publications. So, it is generally said that a scientist, a professor is known by the number of high quality, high impact factor research publications he has authored. So, based on my experience of last 30 plus years, I would like to share with you some of the tips that how to write a scientifically sound or how to publish in a high impact factor journal. Now, high impact factor research paper is based on two things. Of course, one is that it is published in high impact factor journal. Every journal has an impact factor and they calculate this impact factor every year. Based on this impact factor in India, National Academy of Agriculture Sciences has rated the journals. They rate the journals on the basis of their impact factor, and all those publications having NAS rating more than 6 is considered to be published in high impact factor journals. And it is basically, if NAS rating is 7.5, that it means it has an impact factor of 1.5, because 6 they have kept as a base point. So, 6 plus 1.5 is impact factor. So, NAS rating is 7.5, and that impact factor is based on the rating by Thomson Reuters or some other agency. So, this is one parameter to how to judge a high quality publication. Second is the H index of the publication, and similarly H index of the scientist. So, every publication has an H index, that how many times it has been cited by different authors. So, if say for a particular scientist, for a particular professor, if H index is 32, it means 32 publications have been cited minimum of 32 times. So, some of the publications may be cited maybe more, maybe 100 times, maybe less, maybe say 20 times, but H index gives us an average value, that if H index is 32, that means at least 32 publications have been cited 32 times. Another index is I10 index. It shows that number of publications cited for 10 times. If I index is 50, it means 50 publications have been cited at least 10 times. So, but out of these two, H index is considered to be a more reliable parameter. So, this is so of course, the citation index as well as high impact factor, it will depend upon the quality of your research publication. How to plan for a good research paper? Now, I always say that planning for a good research paper should start right from the experimental stage. When you plan an experiment, when you plan a study, you have to keep in mind that I want to publish it in high impact factor journal, and for that your planning, your experiment or your study should be sound, scientifically sound. It should be statistically correct also. Then you have to plan some observations, because in every study we go for some observations. Based on those observations we come out with the outcome, the results. So, these observations, of course, these should be related to the research protocol, and at the same time some additional information which is related to protocol, of course, could be could also be planned, because many a times such observations which may not be necessary for recommending your study, recommending your results to your audience. The audience could be the farmers, the audience could be the scientists, the audience could be general public. It may not be important for them, but some observations may be important for publishing your data, publishing your research in high impact factor journals. Now, what makes a manuscript worth to be published? First of all, while conducting the experiment or while planning or conducting the study, when I say experiment, it means a study also. It could be study by any even non-scientific fields also. So, when you are conducting your experiment, when you are conducting your study, plan some additional observations. This is very important, because it's then never possible to repeat the experiment. Maybe you have taken observations for 2 years and then you have shunned the experiment, you go for publishing your data. So, it is always better to take these additional information, additional observations during at the same time. Then, while analyzing and tabulating the data, when you are analyzing the data, you are tabulating the data, better you think of making some additional calculations. Many times what we do is that whatever data we get from the field, we try to tabulate it as such. We seldom try to squeeze this data. You have to squeeze out this data so as to bring out some good information out of the existing data. So, always try to analyze your data, make some further calculations and bring out some good things, some new things. Then, because if you are going to publish in very high impact factor journal at the international level, they want that there should be at least one small new thing which is already not known to the audience. So, that new thing can come out of your data. So, the need of the hour is just to squeeze that data, just to analyze that data thoroughly so as to come out with some new things. Then your manuscript should also be reinforced with some photographs, some line drawings, some bar diagrams, instead of simply giving large number, huge data in the form of tables. So, it is always better to present your data in very attractive figures. Then, if you have some good photographs, some very important photographs which are conveying something, conveying some good knowledge, you can include those photographs in your manuscript. Then, as I said, figures are better than data present in the tables, because figures are able to say a story more nicely than tables. If I as a reader have to look at the table, I have to concentrate more than when I look at a figure. So, figures should be preferred. Then the sentences which you write should be short and to the point sentences, not big sentences having 2-3 phrases, not like that. Then do not replicate the table. Many a times what we do is that whatever is there in the table, we try to write, okay, by adding this thing, the increase in yield was this much. That is already depicted in the table. Better you have to say that this increase or this much percent increase was because of this, instead of simply replicating your data in the text. And of course, discussion should be very good with reasoning, that okay, if it increased, why it increased, if it decreased, why it decreased. Now, I will tell you my experience. I had this research title, Puddling Intensity and Depth Effects on Percolation Losses and Crop Performance in Rice Beet System. In fact, this was my first attempt to write for an international and well established journal. So, what are observations I recorded? In my protocol, it was bulk density profiles, percolation rate, plant growth parameters and yield. This is what my profile, research protocol wanted. But then of my own, I took some additional information like soil metric potential on the field, bunds, inside the plot, outside the plot, then on the bund itself. Just came to my mind that maybe I may get something different on the bunds of the plot, then inside the plot maybe story may be different, outside may be different. Then I took some percolation rates in PVC tubes. Otherwise, I was recording percolation rate in the whole plot, but then I embedded some 8-inch PVC tubes and thought that maybe infiltration rate or percolation rate could be different in these tubes than in the whole plot. So, these were some additional informations which came to my mind, and of course, while reading the literature, I thought that why not to do this, and you know the result was this. This was the outcome of my additional efforts, because I had the data with me, and when I wrote my publication, I submitted my publication with this title. The reviewer was very nice person. So he asked me, if you have this data, you can calculate this thing. If you have this data, you can calculate this thing. And you won't believe me, I followed his advice, and ultimately we came out with altogether a new table. And that was such a wonderful information that this paper was published in Agriculture Water Management, and now its citation, it was published in around 2000, yes, 2002, and now its citations are more than 200. So that is wonderful story. So this is my experience, that just taking some additional information, I could publish a very good paper, of course with the help of the reviewer. So, and I was so, my confidence level got boosted up, because this was my first attempt, and I was successful in publishing in a very high impact factor and well established journal. So, now the data is with you. To start with, you have to keep your data ready. So, for that, gather the data, analyze it, summarize the data in tables and figures. Okay. Tables and figures, these are basically the basic structure of your paper. Whenever some colleague, some student comes to me that, okay sir, I want to write a good research paper in high impact factor journal, please advise me. So first thing I ask him or her is, okay, show me your data, bring me the tables and figures which you have. So looking at those tables and figures, if I think that, okay, he or she can extract something more out of it, I advise him or her accordingly. So it is better that if raw data is analyzed to important findings, not as such, we should not make the tables as such, and try to come out with some correlations also. Say you have one parameter, you have another parameter, they may be correlated with maybe negative, maybe positively. So try to find out correlations, try to, whatever calculations you can do, you must do. Then after you have done everything, all the analysis, prepare tables and figures, and those tables and figures should be prepared strictly in the format of the journal in which you plan to submit your research paper. You should see that how the format for the tables is there, how the format for figures is there, and you prepare your tables and figures accordingly, and consolidate the data and create figures. And a good paper should not have more than 6 to 8 figures. Then to start with and getting ready with the data, again you have to now identify the focus of your research data. You have to identify, okay, this is my data now in tables and figures, what important 2-3 points I can show. Okay, you just jog down, okay, one point is this is good finding, another is this, maybe 2, maybe 3, not more than that. And then keeping that should be your central theme of your paper, that okay, now everything in the paper, whether in introduction, whether in results and discussion, it should revolve around those 2 to 3 points which you have already identified in your figures and tables. And central theme then needs to be reflected in the title also. So it is always better to discuss data with your seniors. This is in fact lacking among our colleagues, that they don't try to discuss their data, their information which they have generated, or even their studies or experiments with their seniors, because nowadays we people have become very possessive. We think, okay, if I try to show it to my senior, he might not grab this idea. It is not like that. Nobody grabs your idea. It is always better to discuss with your critics. Even when you discuss the things, you get some ideas out of that discussion. So it's always advisable to discuss with your seniors. The next step is to select a suitable journal. Now many a times what we do, that the central idea of our publication does not match with the journal which we have selected. That should not be there, and ultimately the outcome is that the journal people or editor sends your paper back, that this manuscript is not in in line with the objectives of our journal. So you have to keep in mind the subject matter of your research, the quality of the data also. Is there some novel finding? Is it a burning topic? Because if it is not a novel finding, if it's not a burning topic, please don't expect that this will be accepted in high impact factor international or national journals. So this is very important. Otherwise, you go to some other journal if you think that no, it's not a novel finding, it's a routine data, it's not a burning topic also. So it is always better to publish in very good, I should say, not so high impact factor journal. You can come down to impact factor of say 0.5, 0.1, 0.2, whatever you think. Then should not be demanding. Then of course the journal which you have selected based on the contents of your manuscript, the ideas or novelty of the ideas in your manuscript, you have to select the journal, and of course you will go for high impact factor journal. But again, as I said, what impact factor you want, 8, 9, 7, 6, 4, 5, 3, that will depend upon the novelty of the idea in your manuscript. And always many a times we see that there are many journals, even high impact factor journals also, which say okay, after your paper is accepted they demand pay charges. That is very huge. So personally I have never paid. I have published in high impact journals around 70, more than 70 papers, but I never paid a single penny to any journal for, because I do not select a journal which asks for the pay charges, because I know I cannot pay it out of my own pocket. My university cannot pay for me. So then there are journals, very good journals, which do not charge for your publication or printing charges. So it is always better not to go for such type of journals. Now, what should be the structure of a scientific paper? First of all, title is very important. This is very, very important, because when you are going to submit your research paper, research manuscript to a journal for publication, the first thing anybody, editor or reviewer, will read the title. If he is attracted to the title, he will read further. He will read abstract, then go to introductory part and all that. So title is most important, should be simple, attractive. Attractive means catchy. It should attract your attention and accurately reflects the central idea of the paper. Because whatever we read in the this title, my mind immediately says, okay, he is going to talk about this thing, and yes, this is important. Then I go further and looking at the title, okay, no, this seems to be a routine study. So at the most I will read the abstract. Otherwise, many a times the reviewer or the editor can reject your paper just looking at your title, if it is not of interest to him. So in the title, it is always better to avoid the phrases studies on this, investigation of this, novel method. No, never start your title with the words like investigation of this, effect of this on this, because this is not a better title. It doesn't make a better title for international journals. And your title should also not be too long. It should be not more than 2 sentences. Then avoid long chemical nomenclature or unfamiliar abbreviations. Many a times we write the chemical names in the form of nomenclature, or we use some abbreviations, those abbreviations which are not familiar to the general audience. So that also irritates the reviewer or the editor. Here I have given some just three examples of very good titles. Like on the left hand side, there is a study, factors affecting irrigation water savings on raised beds. Very good, no problem in this title. This is very good title. But just to make it more catchy, you can say, do raised beds really help save irrigation water? So now the author thinks that okay, that means he is going to answer this question in his manuscript, and at the same time he can also guess that the person did not get water saving on raised beds. So just then he becomes interested, he reads your paper thoroughly. Another, see title number 2, effect of nitrogen application on grain yield of wheat under irrigated and dry land conditions. As I said, never start from effect of this. And grain yield of wheat under irrigated and dry land conditions. When you are going to say, okay, I am going to study on irrigated conditions or I am going to study on dry land conditions, nothing, this is not important. So what you can say, nitrogen and irrigation effects on performance of wheat. At the most you can say under dry land conditions. So that means you will be comparing under irrigated also. No, so no need. So just to make this title more catchy, attractive. Then another third, you see some observations. No need to write some observations, simply behavior of gullies in some mountain in Punjab. So why some observations? Then coming to abstract, this is second most important part of the structure of your manuscript, because once the editor or the reviewer he has read your title, he will immediately go to the abstract. Abstract should be short, 200 to 400 words, although some journals say 500 words, some journals say 300 words, so it depends. It should be a single paragraph, no different paras, and it should be effective also. How it should be effective? It should contain that rationale behind the study, objectives of the study, that why I am going to conduct, why did I conduct this study, what were objectives of the study, and then major results should also be there, major results, important findings. Then first couple of sentences should focus on what the study is about, some general lines about your study. You have to start with this. You should not abruptly start that, okay, a study was conducted on this. Before that, the 2 or 3 lines should give about something about the study and objective of your study. Then you must avoid the detailed experimental procedure. We did this, that. No, simply these were the treatments, this was the design, statistical design, and then you start with the results. And you have, in your abstract, you have to create a sort of curiosity, for the reader to read. If he gets bored by reading your abstract, it is not only the editor and reviewer, but even the general reader also, maybe a student, he will read the abstract and he sees that I cannot understand this abstract, he will leave your paper. And of course, when he will leave your paper, the published paper, he will not cite it. So it is always that your abstract should make the reader to be very curious, and it should be written in past tense, that with a passive voice, of course, that okay, the study was carried out, instead of saying that we carried out study, the study was carried out in this. So past tense should be used over there. So I'll give you just an example of abstract of paper published in High Impact Factor Journal. This is again my publication in Soil and Tillage Research, very well established. Now you see, I started from the effect of puddling in reducing water losses and increasing rice yields is thought to be a function of its intensity. Simply, yes, everybody knows, a general sentence. However, increased puddling intensity may have a negative effect on yield of succeeding wheat crop due to subsoil compaction. See, this is my hypothesis. On one hand, intensity of this puddling, it determines the percolation rates and rice yields. At the same time, high intensity may lead to detrimental effect on the performance of the succeeding wheat crop due to subsoil compaction. So this is in 2 lines I have explained the rationale behind my study. Then I said a 3-year field experiment was conducted, and then I gave some treatments also, main plot treatments, subplot treatments, and after giving the treatments I simply came down, okay, percolation loss is decreased by this percent, increase in puddling intensity from medium to high. So then I gave some in 6 to 8 lines the main findings. So this is how to write an abstract. Then comes very important section, that is introduction, because your introduction is going to justify that what are the research gaps in your study, why did you have to highlight that, okay, I did this study because there were some research gaps. or you have to give the rationale behind what was the hypothesis of the study, why did you carry out this study. It's not always that okay, gap was there, but what was the need of. One is gap is there, okay, you did it. Was it important? Yes, it. So that you have to give. So start with general background of the topic, just in 3-4 lines, or maybe a short para. Then add 2 to 3 paragraphs on previous background. Okay, that particular person, this and this, they observed this thing. Then highlight some research gaps. Then also highlight the importance of the study. So research gaps as well as importance of the study, that why it was done. These two things are very, very important. And then after that you have to point out the issues that in your research study, in your research paper, you are going to address these issues. As I said in my abstract, that high intensity of course is detrimental for the succeeding wheat crop. So this was the issue which I was going to address. Then hypothesis should be clearly reflected in this section, that this is the reason, or what I think that if we do like this, this may happen. That hypothesis may or may not be true at the end, but you have to say that keeping this in mind, this was my hypothesis. Then objectives, at the end you have to clearly define the objectives, with what objective you carried out this study. And again in introductory section you have to use past tense language, except when you have to say some established facts, like puddling helps in this, puddling is detrimental for. There you can use the present tense, otherwise you have to use the past tense. Then material and methods. I have seen that generally the journals which are published in India, in our country, they try to advise to the authors to keep this section as brief as possible. But on the contrary, in international journals, at the international levels, high impact journals, they emphasize more details in material and method section, because they believe that if somebody wants to replicate your study at his or her place, so they should know how to carry out that study. So details and clarity which are easy for the reader to replicate the experiment, this should be there. You have to write each and every detail, because ultimately your results, your data which you have taken, your observations, that depend upon how you did that. That is very important. So should always be divided into various sections, like study site, what should be the location, site characteristics. Then you can have another section on climate, another section on treatments, then another section on crop raising. So where you have to give the details of culture practices. If this is part of your study, in some studies you may not have the crop raising, you may have only lab study, or you may have even glass house study. So whatever it is, then procedural details, then scientific methods. In some observations you have which are not well defined or standard methods for that particular observation. Then if it is not a standard method, please try to explain that method in detail. Otherwise give reference only in case the method is a standard one. And of course last section should be the statistical, that what sort of statistics did you apply to analyze your data. Then describe the methodology completely, any specifics, that this was the temperature during the study, pH, concentration, then etc., etc. For example, sometimes we say samples were diluted to a final concentration of 2 milligram per ml protein. Then this is, don't say that 135 microliters of sample was diluted by 330 microliters. This is in fact an example from a already published paper, where the person writes that 135 microliters of sample was diluted with 330 microliters of buffer to make the protein concentration 2 milligram. Don't write like this. Better you write that samples were diluted to a final concentration of 2 milligram per ml protein. He may use 400 microliters, he may use 1000 microliters, doesn't matter, but the idea is that okay, the dilution is to be done to 2 mg per milligram per ml of the protein. So, this is the way of writing. And as I said, if it's a well established method, do not write full procedure. And again here third person passive voice in past tense, that it was done like this, experiment was carried out, because many times people like we will carry out. I have seen the thesis, sorry to say, I have seen the thesis from some universities where the person writes that okay, the observations will be taken. The observations have already been taken. Why you are writing will be taken? Because that is, sorry to say, the side effect of copy and paste. Then coming to the results. In fact, in many journals, results and discussions are clubbed together in one section, but in some journals they say results should be a separate section and discussion should be a separate section. But anyhow, summarize your findings. You have to summarize. This is very important. Summarize your findings. Don't write your findings, because you have already written your findings in the form of tables and figures. When you are going to write in the text, you have to summarize your findings. As I said, in the table it shows that okay, the yield increased from 4 tons per hectare to 60 tons per hectare with the application of this. That is already there in the table. You are simply trying to duplicate it or replicate it. Just give a finding. Okay, this much percent increase was because of this. So, this is the way. Never include raw data or intermediate calculations in. As I said in my previous sentence, that okay, yield increase from this to this, that is raw data which is there in the table. You should not write the same values in over here. Presentation of data, avoid excessive and frequent presentation and use past tense while writing the results. Tables and figures should be numbered well. Simple calculations, as I said, can create an additional publication. This is again a very good example which I faced in my scientific career. We had a study on we had initially planned study for 2 publications. This is in fact one of my PhD students. We had some information on rice wheat and similar information on maize wheat. So, reviewer was very nice. He suggested some more calculations for the new parameters in rice wheat, because we had by this time we had not submitted the maize wheat publication. So, in rice wheat he suggested that okay, you can also calculate this and find out these parameters. So, that gave me an idea that okay, he suggested it for it. Now, I have maize wheat. So, why not to prepare another publication just giving a comparison of rice wheat and maize wheat. I did that. So, that publication came out as a third publication without much efforts. So, this is how simple calculations can create an additional publication. Then again, when you write the results section, you should avoid lengthy sentences, always very short sentences, clear cut, because it is a very long sentence, it is very tedious for the reader to remember it. Write short, then it is easy. He finds pleasure in reading that paper. Then the avoid phrases, yet many times in our thesis over here in India we write a perusal of the data in table this indicates. No need for, because international journal people they say simply write the rice yield increase from this to this on table this, simply, not the perusal of the data or data on the effect of this and that is presented in table 1 figure 3. Yes, they know. You can simply write in the brackets. Okay, whatever sentence you have written, give it the reference of the table or figure. So, again I am saying do not replicate the presentation of data in tables and figures and text. So, whatever you have said in tables and figures, fine. In the text you must summarize that, and tables and figures should be self explanatory. If you have written abbreviations for the treatments, please write full, in the footnote write the details of those abbreviations, because if once he looks at the table, he may not need to go back to your treatment section or your text to see what is this abbreviation. So whatever table or figure should be completely self-explanatory, very important. Then discussion. I am also personally I am very happy when result and discussion is commonly it's combined together. But anyhow, some journals they have the need. But when you start writing discussion section, then don't repeat your what you have written in result section. Interpretation of your results with support from other studies reported in the year. You said that the increase in yield was because of this, and you can give some reference of the literature. So discuss the results in detail with healthy discussion, and then you have to discuss that how your data compares or contrasts with the previous work. And many times this is very I have commonly seen that the young students, even younger colleagues also, they write okay, they write their own, summarize the results, then they say similar results were obtained by this. If similar results were obtained under similar conditions, then why did you carry your study? Then what is the idea, what is the use of your study? Or sometimes they write that okay, such and such people, they obtained similar results. So they think that I have now discussed. This is not discussion. You can say okay, in that, even if you have to cite this similar result study, you can say that fla and fla person in this type of soil under such climatic conditions, they observed this thing. This is just to strengthen your statement. Then do not simply dismiss a study or a part of study as inconclusive. Many a times we don't conclude the things. This is very important that the reader or the reviewer or the your editor, he thinks that what did he conclude? He is not clear himself that okay, whatever findings were there, whether these are okay or not, or what does he want to conclude. So you have to decide if your each hypothesis, whether you say that okay, with application of this may increase, or with application of this may decrease. So you have to say that okay, whatever you had hypothesized, is that supported or is that rejected, or you cannot make a decision with confidence. Then you can say okay, I feel it is felt that further studies need to be carried out to confirm this. If you are not confident enough, if you say okay, whatever was my hypothesis, that has been proved, or whatever was my hypothesis, that has been rejected, then research papers will not be accepted if your work is incomplete. So this is very important. So if you do not draw what conclusions you can based upon the results, and then treat the study as a finished work, you have not concluded and you treat it as finished, then the publication may not be accepted. The biggest mistake which people make in the discussion is present a superficial interpretation that more or less states the results. They don't discuss the things, they give a superficial. It is necessary to suggest why results are as these are, that why it increased, why it decreased. You have to come out with that. That is called discussion. It is not that you gave the results and you said similar results were obtained by fla and fla. Then you have to focus on the mechanism behind the observations, that this could be because this observation was taken like that. So better if these mechanisms are supported by the references. Then the last section is conclusions. Should contain major important findings, and it should not be in the form of numbers, because numbers you have already given in abstract. So many a times it happens that the people, they replicate the abstract in conclusion part. Conclusion is qualitative statement, not the quantitative. Abstract gives the quantitative statements. In abstract we give a small background of the study. We gave also in abstract we also mention the treatments, brief of the methodology, but in conclusion simply your findings in a qualitative way. And then brief discussion of the future perspectives, whether you think that it needs further confirmation or further this could be done, that maybe one or two sentences could be there. And then you can also say application of this work to other disciplines, that okay, this study could be useful for this. So, as I said, do not rewrite the abstract, do not include the statements with that this was investigated or it was studied and it came out. No. And if you want to acknowledge somebody, then always thank the funding agency, if any. If your study was supported by some funding agency, acknowledge it. Thank your colleagues, scientists, technicians. You have discussed with your seniors, you must acknowledge that. And never thank the reviewers. Many people say we are very thankful to the reviewers. So, reviewers are always anonymous, and this is their duty. No need to thank them. Even if you thank them, you have not written their names, and it will not be of any use. Reference is very important. Style of writing, it varies with the journal. That reference, every journal has its own format or style of writing the citations. So, just follow that, follow the journal style. It is very important, because if you do not follow the journal style, the editor will get irritated, and this could be one major reason for rejection of your publication. So, similarly, when you cite the reference in the text, that also varies with the journal. They have their own styles, and references cited in the text should match with those in the reference list. It's not there that you have cited in the text and those references are missing or not adding in the bibliography. So, that also irritates the editor. Now, very important thing is that always read the guidelines of the journal. Stick to these guidelines while giving final touches. Write or cite references strictly as per the journal format. If not, because it gives an impression to the editor that if you are not able to properly write the references or bibliography, then how this man can, how this person can, he deserves his publication to be published. So, once the paper is reviewed, the decision could be accepted without any comments. This is very rare that your publication is accepted without any comments, or it could be accepted with minor revisions. That means you are very lucky, but general the decision is major revision, and when they say major revision, then there are many chances of acceptance of your publication. Sometimes the reviewers, they say it could be reconsidered after major revision. Based on reviewer concepts, the editor says when says reconsidered after major revision, then it means you must thoroughly revise as strictly as the comments of the reviewers. Then make point wise reply to the comments, then politely argue the comment where you do not agree, because in some places reviewer may also be wrong. He is also a person like you and me. So, it is not that he is always superior. So, if you have if you do not agree with him, so you can politely argue. Do not ignore any of the issues, concerns raised by the reviewers, and these points are to be kept in mind for all the decision except the first one. Then lastly, the decision could be rejected. When it says rejected, then no need. But again, this is very good point that the editors of the journals, high impact factor journals, they give you the detailed comments of the reviewers also. So, if your paper is rejected, do not get disappointed. If I claim that I have written 70 plus papers in high impact factor journals, I should also accept this, that maybe my rejection rate could be 25 to 30%. 1/3 of my publications got rejected, but I was never disappointed. I took those comments very positively, then revised the paper, then submitted it to the other journal. So, either the rejection is real, the rejection could be real. Okay, your paper is weak and yes, it deserved to be rejected. But sometimes it could happen that editor or the reviewers could be biased also. As I said, they are also human beings like you and me. So, no, even then you do not have to argue with them. Read the comments well, revise the paper strictly as per comments, because this is basically a learning for you. You are seeing, okay, this I wrote like this, and this is how the reviewer says, and some of the comments could be really useful for you. But follow the above. But even if you can revise paper even if it is rejected, you can revise it, and if you are convinced that yes, no, my data is good, editor or the reviewers they are biased, you can again give your explanation and submit your comments to the editor, but in a very polite manner. So, this should be done only if you are convinced that your rejection of the paper is not fair. Use reviewers comments to improve upon your paper. Always whether your paper is rejected or not, you are benefited by the comments of the reviewers. So, revise the paper, resubmit to some other journal, improve upon your paper, and after carrying out small verification studies also, you can again go back and generate some more data if you are able to do so. So, the reviewers comments on your paper can boost your confidence and can make you learn the tidbits of the paper writing. So, just getting disappointed that my paper has been rejected, rather you should be happy that I got some comments and yes, I learned from these comments. So, I believe that rejection, if it is there, it leads to more learning, it leads to more confidence in you. So, these were some of the tips based on my based on my good experience during the last 30 plus years. I hope that this will be beneficial to you. Good luck in your future endeavors. Thank you very much.